here it is, a lovely Sunday afternoon. I don't have anything to do, and I feel weird to not constantly be working on something. So I thought that I would take a second to make an archive video that I have, a lot of people have requested. So you can just go watch this anytime you want. And to some of you, this is going to be like, well, no fucking shit type news, okay? But I would say this is probably somewhere between for beginners to intermediate players, right? If you're a wily old veteran of the DFS streets, a lot of this, I would say almost all of it, you're not going to need to hear. So this is just an archive video for those other people. So fucking click off them, brother. Okay, this is something that like I need to do a better job of preaching. I don't do this because I hope that no one joins this website because you think I'm going to guarantee that you'll be a winner at DFS, because that's not what it's about, man. If you don't want, you might want to plug your ears on this. But here's the dirty little secret, and I know these numbers from DraftKings. I've seen them. Over 90% of players in a given year lose at DraftKings, right? 90%. Think about that. So, like, for all of you that are like, man, I'm a losing player, I suck at this. No, you don't. Everybody loses, right? Like, it's such a small percentage of people that win. And of that, less than 10% of people that win, a lot of that is because they had one really good hit, right? You know, they had that one good hit for the year that made them, a slightly profitable player. If you want to get into people that consistently win year over year, that number gets real small, right? Like 1%. Now, you do got to remember there's, a few million people playing, so 1% of a few million is still a lot of very profitable players, right? But what I really want to preach is sustainability, how to make your money last longer, because to me, PGA DFS for probably 90 to 95% of you should be about having fun, enjoying the process, having some sweats, and occasionally, maybe hitting a big one where you could win some life-changing money. If you didn't see this week, we had some people hit a lot of people. For all of you that don't know, I'm recording this, what is this, January 29th? We just finished up, it's a Sunday that we did the, what the hell, Torrey Pines. What the hell's the name of that tournament we just watched? The Farmers. Yeah, we just had the Farmers, and we cleaned up. We did very well. And so that's the goal. But I want to talk about how to make your money last longer so you're not depositing $100 onto DraftKings every week, and how you can become, maybe a player that is a slight winner over the year, or how you could, maybe, just stay afloat long enough for you to hit that big one. And that's what the goal of this video is, okay? I know most of you are doing golf, but right now, because it's Sunday, they haven't put up all the golf contests, so I'm going to have to use the NFL as an example here, right? I mean, I guess I could use golf for just a second, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, because I always forget to talk about this, is the most negative EV thing you can do is playing these right here. These are called satellites, okay? Satellites are fun because a lot of times it can get you into a bigger tournament that you would have never thought about playing, right? But I know a lot of you see these Fantasy Golf World Championship tickets, right? And these are amazing. I qualified for the Fantasy Golf World Championships in 2021. There was only 250 tickets. The top 40 got to go to the live finals. I was fortunate enough to make it. I went to the live final last year. I didn't win a ticket. I had 4 second places, and we'll talk about why those hurt so bad in just a second. And I did not have a ticket last year. No tickets into it last year. Am I chasing some this year? Yeah, I am, Bob. So this is what I want you to understand. Satellites are huge negative EV. If you don't understand, new guy, EV is expected value, right? We want to get our money in as many positive expected values as possible. And then, sometimes we want to, if it's neutral, okay, we're gambling a little bit, but then there's just straight up negative. And let's just take, here's one that a lot of you will play in this week, right? The $10, right? Ooh, $10, I could win a ticket into the Fantasy Golf World Championship, okay? There is 2,300 people in this. Let's say you do 10 lineups in it, right? You do $100 and you get second place out of 2,300 people, which would be insanity, right? That would be that'd be almost a nuts lineup, right? You're going to get $150 back, right? That's bad luck, right? So you won $50 when you almost had the nuts lineup, right? That's not probably going to happen. What's probably going to happen is you're going to have like one lineup finish and you'll get $15 back on your 100. That's what's going to happen almost every time, right? You hit a really good one, you get third place, you break even for the week, right? This is the world of it. But here is what a lot of you are saying right now. But what if I win? What if I win? Okay, well, let's say you win. That ticket is worth about $18,000, right? $18,000. That's basically the value of the ticket. And you're thinking, man, that's awesome. And yes, it is. That is really cool if you hit that. But here's what you don't understand. We are currently in January right now. I guess this tournament will be in February, right? And if you win this ticket, you don't get any of that money. It just sets. It just gives you a ticket that will sit in your account, and you won't have access to any of that until August, when your ticket will then get you in there, right? So even if you did win the $18,000, you're never going to see a penny of that until August. And then even if you do, it's not like you're going to win $18,000. Then you got to go through the qualifiers, right? And if you go through the qualifiers, if you finish you get kicked out the first week of the qualifiers, you'll probably only get, I haven't looked, I think it's like $2,500 or $3,000, right? Which is still nice. It's not like you're not getting anything, but when you see $18,000 on your screen, just know that the majority of people are not going to get $18,000. I finished 16th place the year I did it, and I only got $25,000. Right. So that's just something to consider, that even if you qualify for this, which is super hard to do. Right. You can tell it's literally 1 in 2,300. Right. And if you did qualify, well, then you still got to go finish in the top, 10 percentile of the Fantasy Golf World Championship to see any more than just the fake 18,000 you're getting. So just know that when it comes to satellites, I get that they're fun. I chase them, but I know how negative EV they are, but I want that fucking life experience again. So I set aside X amount of money and just say, I'm going to be a dickhead and play negative EV tournaments with X amount of money because I want that Fantasy Golf World Championship ticket. But as far as like playing to be a profitable player, this is the dumbest thing you can do. This is the worst thing you can do if you're trying to, say you decide you're going to play $1,000 for the entire year of 2023 at Fantasy Golf. Well, if you're chasing these tickets, you're going to burn through that money in no time, brother. No time. So that's the first thing. Satellites are huge negative EVs. Another one is, say you go play in some of these satellites where you can win like a 555 ticket, right? A lot of them is like, it'll just get you into a bigger contest. Well, now you have to go take your $9 ticket and you have to go win a satellite. And then if you win that satellite, all that did was get you in another tournament where you got to go finish in the top 20 percentile. So if you ever want to play in those big tournaments, satellites can be okay. And don't get me wrong, a lot of times these satellites will overlay, which means that DraftKings guarantees the ticket, but there's not enough people entering it to cover that ticket, so it's almost like they're giving you free money. In those instances, satellites can almost become neutral or positive EV, expected value plays. And so because of that, there is a time and place for satellites to get in there. If I see some satellite overlaying a ton, I'll go hop in there, right? And then as you go up in the prizes, like I just played in this one a couple weeks ago, this $920 one, it's like first place, you win a Fantasy Golf World Championship. Second place, you get, basically your money back plus a few $100. And then the other 21 spots, you get a swift kick in the nuts. You're down $1,000. That's what you get, right? So these are huge. I mean, this is just a way to blow through a lot of money chasing these tickets. So satellites, bad news, unless there's an overlay or you have a designated budget to go through these. All right, the next one is called tournaments. All right, we all know tournaments. This is what we all play, right? If you don't know, once again, this is for the Pro-Am coming up this week. What the hell is it called? Pebble Beach Pro-Am? I don't even know the name of the tournaments. I'm just good at DFS, motherfathers. So here you go. Look at this. All this money goes to these top few spots. So you go play in this. You go put, I don't know how many lineups you play in. It's $20 to get in here. Let's say you do 20 lineups. You do $400 worth of lineups. If you did, you know what? Let's just go crazy here. I want to show you the math. Let's say you max enter this. If you don't know, big GPPs will always be capped at 150 lineups. So 150 lineups times $20 is $3,000. That's what it would take to max enter this tournament, right? And a lot of the high-level players do that. I've done it numerous times myself. I just don't usually like this format, so I only do it like in the $5 and stuff because I like that format more. So from there, $3,000 is what it takes to max enter. And if you, to finish in the top 10, that's a 1 in 4,000. But then you're playing. Actually, you know what? Let's look at. You would have to get at least 6th place, right? At least 6th place to pay this off, right? So you 6th place is going to be. You would expect to get that. What is that? 1 out of 40,000 divided by 7. So we're just going to round it to. You have about a 1 in 7,000 chance in any one of these lineups. You're playing 150 lineups. 150 will go into 7,000. What is that? About 40 times. So basically, you would expect about 1 out of 4. I'm quick checking my math here, okay? So it might be a little off, but roughly it's pretty accurate. About 1 out of 40 times that you max enter this tournament, you should expect a top 6 finish, okay? So you're doing $3,000, and of that, you should only expect to have a lineup that will pay it off probably once a year. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. Think of all the money you have to invest into that to get there, right? This is why these big tournaments, by and large, these GPPs are negative EV plays, right? You got to enter so much to get there. And this is why, if you're trying to make your money last, you should not be spamming these big lotto GPPs like this, right? It is a very negative EV play unless you have a ginormous bankroll and you're a very good player. And then, you're going to hit some 200,000s. You're going to hit some 75,000s every so often that will cover most of that, right? And I know some of you are saying, yeah, but if I enter 150 lineups, some of them will finish it in the cash. Okay, so you entered $3,000 and you got $1,000 back. You're still down $2,000 for the week, right? Now go do that times the 40, 45 golf weeks there are in a year. You're down 90,000. So even if you got second place in one of these tournaments, you're still going to be, down $15,000 for the year. Here's all the math you need to know. Every week, you can track this. How many of the people that enter 150, all the big pros and the guys that have a lot of money that enter 150, the number is usually between 95 to 97% of them are losers for the week, right? So only about 2 to 5% of those guys are winning in a given week when they MME, and that's usually because one lineup got there, right? Or they went with a really tight core and their core smashed. So if the very best players, only 2 to 5% of them are profiting in a given week, just think about that. Think about what your chances are. Not great, Bob. Not great. If you want to MME, you should be looking for tournaments with better, flatter payout structures, right? Like, see how that first one had 28% of all the money going to first? And then, look how fast it just falls off. 10th place is only 1/100th. My God, man. If you're going to do MMEs, well, you want to look at contests that have a flatter payout structure. So when you do get that 5th place, that 3rd place, it's a very nice payday. So check out the $5 this week. And you can see $200,000, so only 12.5% is going to first. 60% of first is going to second, and 10th place is, 133rd. Not great, but doable, right? This is if you're going to max enter, these are the kind of tournaments you want to get in with a flatter payout structure, right? That 18, this is the one I fought to get done, and now it's growing, right? This 18 max $10. Why is it so good? 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000. I mean, it's just an awesome payout structure. 9th place, exactly 1/10 of first. 2nd place, 80% of first. This is the nuts, right? If you get 2nd place in this, you're not going to feel like a fucking loser because you only lost $1,000. It's awesome. These are the more sustainable tournaments. And we all want to play GPPs, right? I get it. This is how you hit the big day. This is where you do the screenshots. This is what gives you the real sweats. I'm not telling you not to play GPPs. I'm telling you to play in the more sustainable GPPs. But the real answer is, if you really want to be sustainable, you probably want to play in tournaments that you can max enter. So, like an 18 max $10. If you're playing $180 a week, that would be a good one, right? Another one would be tournaments like single entries, right? $200 single entries, $100 single entries. Maybe that's above your price range. $12 single entries, $5 single entries. Because if you don't know, a single entry means everybody can only enter once. And you don't want to be entering tournaments where other people can enter a lot more than you. 3 maxes are always good. I always love to go hop in Pat Mayo's $15 3 max every week. There's no rake on it. It's a great structured contest, flat payout structure. That's just where it's at, right? Let's see if we got any more here. As you can see, the tournament's not out, so they just have some samples here, okay? Now, let's get to what really is sustainable. Okay, so we have satellites are the worst as far as sustainability. GPPs are the second worst, but there is a big range in there, right? There's the big lottos, like the big $20 pitch and putt is always going to be a lotto. The millionaire maker is always going to be a lotto. And then there's more like your 18 max $10, your $5 150 that kind of fall in that middle range. And then there's single entries, which are the best, right? Those have the best expected value in the long run, okay? But the very best thing you can do to sustain your bankroll is cash game. And a lot of you have probably heard that term and you don't even know what it means. Cash game is basically, maybe some of you play poker. Okay, there's 2 different types of poker. There's you go play in the big tournament, you see the World Series of Poker on television. That's what GPPs are. Cash game is when you just go sit at a table with a designated amount of money and you can leave anytime you want. Basically, if you double up your money in a night, you're very happy with it, right? Whereas when you go play in the World Series of Poker, you're trying to, win first place and get millions and millions of dollars. That's not very sustainable in the long run for most people, unless you hit a big one early on that kind of builds up your bankroll. But what is sustainable is playing in cash. It is an art, and it does take a while to get good at. But if you're going to play in cash basically refers to 3 things. It refers to 50-50s, which is like where 50% of the field gets paid, right? double ups, which is almost the same thing, right? Instead of it being 50% of the field, it just means that you double your money. I buy a $10 ticket. If I finish in the above the cut line, I get $20, right? You double up your money. It's almost the same thing. It's just doing the math a little differently, right? One, you pay the rake up front. The other one, you pay the rake and the number of winners. That's basically the only difference, okay? And then the last one is head-to-head. Head-to-head can be tremendous because there's some people out there that are fucking morons that build really stupid lineups, okay? And you can go play those guys 1v1, and if you beat them, you'll double your money. Of course, you got to pay a small amount of rake, right? The higher the value you play, like if you go play the $100 head-to-head, you'll notice you're paying a 9% rake. It's $109 to win 200, right? If you go play the $50, you'll notice you're paying an 11% rake. That rake gets higher the smaller the value. You get up here to the $500, notice you're only paying a 6% rake, right? So that's really low, right? This is where it's at. You pay that you play the $200, you're paying, what is that? 7.5% rake, right? 15 into 400 or 4, it'd be 30 into 40, right? So that would be a 15% rake. Or 7.5% rate because you got to divide by 2, right? So that's where we're at. And then the higher you get up, it pretty much levels out at 6% for the big ones, right? 6% rake. That's as low as you'll ever get. That's DraftKings taking their cut for offering you things. So you would need to finish ahead in those big ones. 50, what would that be? 53.5% of the time would make you a profitable player. All right, from there. And then if you want to go play in the small ones, you can see they have a pretty big rake, right? A pretty big rake. 20% or so. So that's why if you're going to play, and plus for whatever reason, the fucking higher limit things, not necessarily better players. I'm tracking all this stuff. I'm tracking all my cash results. I'm making a big table. I have that, but I don't want to share it with everybody because then everybody will know all the weaklings. So I'm probably, once I get some good information on who are the weaker players to target, I'll have that available for people that want to pay an additional fee to see it because that's a gold mine there. So then I hope you're asking this question, new guy. All right, well, when I'm making my lineups, how do I know the difference between cash players and how do I know the difference between GPP players? Well, this is this week's stone. If you don't know, this is the Rosetta Stone. This is what I put out every week, right? And how do we determine what makes somebody a good cash player versus what makes them a good GPP player? Let's just start with cash because I think building a good cash lineup and the strategy that goes into it is a building block for them what makes how to make a good GPP lineup. So first of all, I did start color coding people in cash. What are some things that make me color code people in cash? Well, there's numerous things to look at. First of all, you want them to be a good price adjusted play, right? Which means that they are a good value for where like their talent exceeds their value. Their expectations of how they're going to perform exceeds their expectations. Like this week, you're watching this in the future, but this week Justin Thomas was criminally underpriced. I don't think Justin Thomas is necessarily a great fit, but Justin Thomas at 9,400 is just objectively underpriced. Max Homa at 9,100, playing on a long, difficult course, was underpriced. He is a nut. He was a nut cash play this week, right? By the way, he won the tournament. Guy in the future, okay? If you don't remember, Max Homa definitely won this tournament. He was the perfect fit, right? And so these are things, that's the first thing I'm looking at is how good are they? What are their projections versus their price, right? And Max Homa, JT, they were off the charts, right? And by the way, if you don't know, John Rahm was playing like a god at this time. A guy in the future, he would also be good. But the reason that John Rahm, you got to be careful putting a guy like him in there is he's so stinking expensive, he's going to make you punt at some of your other spots. Punt just means to gamble, right? To make riskier plays. And you don't want to be doing a lot of punting in your cash lineup. You want as many solid plays as you can get in there. So as great as John Rahm's playing and as much as his recent form and his model rank and his made cut percentage makes him a god, you have to be aware of what he does to the rest of your lineup, right? So if I was building a cash lineup, I almost throw out a lot of the really expensive guys. Like if you're over 10,000, you better be a nuts play to get in my cash lineup. I'm trying to go for solid, consistent plays so that I don't have any weak links in my cash lineup. That's why if I were building a cash lineup this week, I would have started with Justin Thomas. I would have started with Max Homa. I would have started with Jason Day. These are the kind of guys. These are why I colored these guys. Well, what makes them good cash plays? Well, first of all, I go look at their made cut percentage. Max Homa had a really high made cut percentage. I go look at their price relationship. JT was just criminally underpriced this week. I go look at their recent form coming in. I don't want to play a guy coming in shitty form, right? So I go look at their recent form. I look at their made cut percentage. I look at their top 20 equity. I don't worry too much about their win equity because in cash, it's way more important to get 6 guys through the cut than it is to have the winner. The winner can bail you out a lot of times, but I don't think you want to build your cash lineup trying to think of that. I think you want to try to get guys that have nice high top, like look at Max Homa, 40% chance of finishing in the top 20. The motherfather won, right? 72% chance of making the cut. The model loves him. He was coming in good form. He's a decent price adjusted play. Okay, that is what makes Max Homa a nuts play at cash this week. Okay, let's scroll down here to some of the scrubs. Why are some of these other guys? Why was Jonathan Vegas? Oh, Jonathan Vegas in cash. Well, first of all, you're going to have to play a guy or two in the 7,000s in your cash lineup. That's just how it works, right? So none of these guys on here are ever going to be perfect. But when I go through, I see Jonathan Vegas was the only guy in this range that has a made cut percentage above 60%. So that right there already makes him very appealing, right? The next thing I look at is he's a good model fit. I also notice his top 20 rate is insanely higher than everybody else around here. I think he ended up probably finishing around T30. He did very well, but he didn't finish top 20, but at 7,000, you didn't need that. He was just a nice soft play. And the last thing that I considered, he was a really good course fit, right? This was a course where you need to be long and straight off the tee, and Jonathan Vegas can smash it off the tee. So those are some things that make guys good cash plays. Another good little secret to look at if you want to know what's a good cash play, just go look at their ownership. Guys that are really high ownership tend to be better plays, right? Because people can see they are a good fit for this course. And in cash, we don't worry about ownership at all. You can never say, I'm not playing Max Homa, he's donkey chalk. Here's a good rule to remember. When you're making a cash lineup, you want donkey chalk, okay? Because they typically tend to be good plays. And we're not worried about ownership at cash because we're not trying to beat a field of 30,000 people. We're trying to beat 5 assholes out of 11. That's all we're trying to do, right? I guess it'd be 6 assholes out of 11. So that is how I make my cash lineups, right? I look at all these different parameters, but I give way more focus to their price relationship, their recent form, their made cut, and their top 20. Right? That's what I look at. I also am aware of playing guys that are too expensive because if I play Jon Rahm in my cash lineup, as good as Jon Rahm has been, I basically am going to have to play probably 3 or 4 $7,000 guys. And $7,000 guys are $7,000 for a reason. They're not as safe as an $8,000 or $9,000 guy. So like a great cash lineup this week would have been something like Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Jason Day, Jonathan Vegas, Thomas Dietrich, and, I don't know how much money you have left, but maybe like a Taylor Pendrith, right? That would have been like a really safe cash lineup. And I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine that it probably would have cashed for you. Okay. Whereas when we're playing GPPs, it's almost the exact opposite, right? We see, oh man, Max Homa is a really good fit and he's, playing really well. But do I want to play him? And the answer is yes, I wanted to play Max Homa. I didn't care how he was the first guy I thought of this week, so I played him. Right? But then there was other guys where I'm like, really? Like 16% of people want to play Mav McNeely. I'll just go play fucking Sahith Tagala, right? Like that's where you got to start playing GPPs. Is you do worry about ownership, and you have to ask yourself, do I love this guy enough to justify playing him, right? And like Colin Morikawa, if you would have pivoted off of Xander to Morikawa this week, you would have had great leverage. Matter of fact, I think Morikawa might have outscored Finau, Rahm, and Schauffele. If not, he was right there with him, right? And he was cheaper. Do you want to play a 19% Will Zalatoris when you could play Morikawa at almost half that ownership? I mean, Zalatoris missed the cut. I think Morikawa got 4th, right? So that's the difference. In GPPs, you're looking about like, who are the guys you're committed to? I played Jon Rahm and Max Homa this week. I didn't care what their fucking ownership was. I wanted them in my lineups. All I did is I just played them in such a huge amount of my lineups that I could overcome eating that chalk. Now, Jason Day, Mav McNeely, Jonathan Vegas did not touch my GPP lineups. There was just other good plays out there. Will Zalatoris, Taylor Pendrith, guys like that, get the fuck out of here. I'll play you in Showdown, right? I'm not going to play you in my week-long lineups. And so then who do I play if I'm not playing those guys? Well, I just simply go pivot. I go play Decky. I go play Siwoo. I go play Sahith Tagala, which, by the way, all those guys did tremendous. I go play Keegan Bradley, who I believe got 2nd place. And that's what I'm doing at GPPs. Because at cash game, you have to only be smarter than a little over half the people in the field. At GPPs, you got to be smarter than everybody. Okay, so you're playing a lot more game theory when you're in GPPs than when you're in cash. And the how you go about constructing your lineup is two very different things, right? I think you should go make your cash lineup every week. And if you can't make a cash lineup you love, then probably don't play cash. Okay, I played cash this week for week long. I played it in round 2 showdown, and I played it in round 4 showdown, and I killed all of them, right? Wait, I'm lying. I played it round 1 showdown, round 3 showdown in week long, and I won all 3. I won across the board in all 3 because round 2 and round 4, I couldn't build a cash lineup that I loved, and I'm not going to go risk thousands of dollars on a lineup that I don't love. What makes me love a cash lineup? It's simple. Are all these guys dudes that are checking the boxes? Do I have anybody in my cash lineup that makes me want to vomit? If that's the case, then no, I don't want to play it. And, does this lineup feel safe? And if the answer to all 3 of those is yes, I play cash. That's it. That's basically what I do. At GPPs, I want my lineups to make me vomit, right? I've won a lot of GPPs in my life. I've finished top 5 in GPPs a lot in my life. And I would say every one of those lineups that did it, without exception, every single one of them had a guy in it that made me go, because it's those lineups that you would never instinctively build. This is why I've started using the solver optimizer, because it takes my player pool and it doesn't give a shit. If they're good enough to be in my player pool, then I shouldn't worry too much about if it's a lineup I think could win, because you know what? A lot of times, or most of the time, it's never a lineup that you would have ever considered that is the nuts. Do this for me. One time at the end of the week, I bet you can find, if you go look at your player pool, I bet there was some combination of your player pool that probably would have had you the top 10 in a GPP, but you didn't mix and match them right. That's what I really like about using an optimizer, is it takes out a lot of that bias that we have as humans and just makes the best version of our player pool. All right, so I guess in conclusion, I would want you to know that satellites are fun. Satellites can be exciting, but they are a horrible waste of money if you're trying to practice sustainability in the long run. And that's what I want. I'm not a guy that's going to promise you're all going to be winners because you signed up to tgen75.com. No, I'm promising you that I'm going to help you think about the game in a different way. I'm going to teach you the process, and I'm going to help you get into more positive EV plays in the long run. If you do that long enough, well then yeah, you can be a break even or maybe even a profitable player, or a break-even player that hits that, $30,000 spike one day and, has enough money to go do some fun stuff, right? That's what I'm all about, right? And I feel like that's what makes my brand different than everybody else's, is I'm never going to promise you winners, but I can promise you to be more sustainable with your bankroll. And playing in satellites is a terrible way to do that. From there, there's GPPs, which are also negative EV, especially if you're playing the big lotteries, right? The ones with tens of thousands of people where the majority of the money goes to first, second, and third, right? You want to stay away from those. Those are not good. I know it looks fun, and it's fun to dream about winning $200,000, but you're going to spend so much money chasing it that you will burn through all of your DraftKings money before you ever hit that $200,000. Okay, I have been entering a lot of lineups for a long time, and I have still never hit $100,000. I've hit 50,000 a couple times. I've hit 40,000s, 30,000s, a lot of those. But then, part of the reason is I just quit playing in those tournaments where 100,000 goes to first because the tournament structures suck. So I don't worry about what's my biggest hit. I worry about I've hit 10,000 or more over 25 times. That's what I care about, right? I like to hit those singles and doubles like that. And if I hit a home run, well, that's great. But I just don't play in those tournaments enough to ever really hit $100,000 or $200,000. And that's how I make my money sustainable. I play in the $200 single entry, the $100 single entry. I'll play in the 555 signature hole if it's a good payout structure. I'll play in those. If I ever see that the country club, which is $2,100, or the 19th hole, which is $3,000, if they're going to overlay, or I have a lineup I love that week, I'll get in those. I don't care about playing the big dogs. It's just about, do I feel like I have an edge that week? And a lot of times, why would I go play the big dogs? Because maybe I don't have an edge, but some weeks I do. Or at least I feel like I do, I should say. And then lastly, the most important thing, the most sustainable thing you can do is both at showdown and at week long. Play more double ups, 50-50s, and head-to-heads. Okay, that's called cash. Do that and more single entries, and you will be more sustainable with your money in the long run. That is the lesson. And to me, it's all about sustainability, because you don't want it to be March and you've already burned through your whole yearly budget, right? You got to give yourself enough time to hit something good, because on a given week, you're going to lose. If you're playing GPPs, you're going to lose 80% of the time. Best case scenario. If you're just playing the lotteries, bump that number up more like to 90 to 95% of the time you're going to lose week over week, okay? And you got to understand that. Now, if you go play cash, You go play single entries, I think you could probably get that number. If you're just playing cash, I think you could probably win over 50% of the time, if you're using the right things to build your lineup. If you're playing single entries, I think you can probably be a profitable player more like, 20 to 25% of the time, which means you're only losing, 75% of the time, which sounds like a lot. But remember, with these payout structures being so, top heavy, all you got to do is hit one good one a year and you'll cover any losses. Trust me. So this is an archive video forever, exactly 30 minutes long. I've had some people requesting this, so I wanted to put it out there. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll talk to you later, motherfathers.